If I can get your attention, everyone, we'll go ahead and get started here. Thank you for coming tonight. We're This is our final open house that we're holding on updating Vision 2030. Vision 2030 has been a guiding document for the city. It was created in 2010, I believe. Anyway, just giving us a view of how things are going to be, or how we'd like to see things in the future for Provo. Um, we've been reaching out in different neighborhoods and trying to get you all together to get some input, to not only explain what we're looking at and the updates that have been made so far, but also to get your input and let us know what you see for the future of Provo. We have several city council members here tonight: Dave Harding, Dave Sewell, and Gary Winterton, and we're happy to have them here. And we have Bill Graff from the Joaquin neighborhood and Martha Windsor from the Franklin neighborhood. So nice to see our neighborhood leaders out as well. I'm going to turn the time over to Austin from Community Development. He's going to walk you through this process, and hope you can give him some great ideas.
Okay, thank you. So I've been told that we have to use the mic tonight, so I apologize. I would generally like to interact with you better, but so as Karen mentioned, what we're in the process of right now is, in 2010, this Vision 2030 document went through about a year-long process of trying to define some of the high-level goals and objectives that the city has. This is really a document that came from the neighborhoods in a lot of discussions and meetings like this, to where we identified what those goals were to help guide the city over the next 20 years, hence the name 2030. Adopted in 2010, the vision is for 2030. So we are looking now to, it's been 6 years, the document has been out, has been guiding us and helping our council members in some of the decisions that they have to make on a daily basis. And we're looking now to try and just either reassure that the vision is still appropriate, make adjustments where necessary, or eliminate things that maybe don't apply anymore. We're just trying to make sure that things are up to date and current with where we're going. So one of the things, well, let's go over, I don't know if this is going to reach even far enough. Let's move that. Apparently we're updating. So this is just kind of that rundown, the process as it went through. You can see a number of city employees and some citizens that were directing, or they were the steering committee for the process. And then from that, this says 13 subcommittees. Through the process, they actually ended up adding another one, so there were 14 subcommittees that all discussed this to give you the document that we have today. The subcommittees talked about these various different things that you see here: safety, unity, prosperity, family and neighborhoods, partnerships, etc. So that's what we're going to go through today. This is completely intended to be a discussion topic. This is not me presenting to you any ideas or plans that we have, other than to tell you, I guess, one thing. Through the course of the last 6 years, it's been a question oftentimes of, so we have Vision 2030, and we have a general plan for the city. How do those two relate? Or are there conflicts between them? And how do we regulate from that high level standpoint how do we know what that vision is if we have two documents that are somewhat high level? And so through this process, some of what we're trying to do is actually take and merge those two documents together to see how they work. When things are similar, they can be combined together. If things are opposing, we're looking for feedback on, so what is the real direction that we're trying to go? So far, we've analyzed it, and we haven't found anything that directly opposes one another, but you're welcome to challenge us on that. So with that, let me change over. It's going to be just a simple Word document, and I do apologize because of needing to use this clicker. It's a little jumpy when we're bouncing between things, but we'll do the best that we can. So we see everything.
Just a correction though, this 2030 is only a very limited analysis and it's the bulk of the system. We've got an average of 5,000 property rights per year of people who don't know of anything out of Vision 2030. And to say that it began back in 2009 or 2010 was kind of a farce, because if you read the language, it coincides almost perfectly with looking at the UN back in the 1970s, which is Agenda 21. It's interesting to know that not only the illustrious John Curtis mentioned in the one and only debate I had with them in 2013 that was almost completed, but the UN adopted a new agenda just within the last year called Agenda 2030.
Okay, so you had a specific, I didn't mean to ignore you and move on.
I appreciate it. I just think of the planning that's done on the west side. We talked about the vision for green space. Help me understand this. Just the vision of maintaining green space and the vision of development. Those seem to conflict at times.
Okay, yeah, so I do understand that. What I meant, let me clarify what I meant by conflicting goals maybe or objectives is having the general plan say one thing and Vision 2030 say a completely different thing that don't coincide. The conflict that you're talking about exists actually in both documents. So I do agree there are some of those that we definitely look for some policy direction on trying to identify with that. So.
The way I look at it is there's a lot of good principles, balance, and I think that's kind of why we were elected, is to try to help balance these good principles that sometimes are. And I agree with that, because there's nothing in Vision 2030 right now that we don't really think is a good principle. I'm not sure how we do it all.
Yeah, a lot of what becomes difficult with a document like this is it is very high level, and so you talk about things, to be completely candid, I'm going to be surprised if we go through any goal that's listed here and somebody in this room, which you're welcome to do so, but I will be surprised if anybody says, absolutely not, we don't want a goal like that in our city. When you're talking very high level, they tend to be kind of flowery statements. Of course you want those things, but it's important for us to set this high level standard so then we can start drilling down with more adequate policies and the like that can help us get there. Does that help? Does that clarify, or did I just confuse more people?
Green space meaning agriculture or green space meaning
So I would say let's start going through some of this. It might help clarify some of those. There are times in something where you're talking so high level that you're not talking as specific about what that open space or green space might be. But there's, as we go through this, it might become a little more clear where, or at least what this document is saying. I guess one question I have for those of you here is, how many have previously read the Vision 2030 document? Excellent. So about half of you. So what we're going to go through, if you've read it in the last 6 years off of the website, is we haven't changed anything, with one exception. You'll notice that there's some areas here. I don't know if this has a laser pointer, but you'll notice some areas there that are in red text. The red text comes from the general plan. So like I mentioned, one of the things we are trying to do is make sure that these jive together. And what we're doing, what we've decided to pursue is taking this effort of actually merging the two documents together and making them one. So we went through this. This is the original Vision 2030 document that was adopted, and then we compared that with general plan stated goals or objectives. And if the 2030 document didn't have something, we found where we felt was the best location that would fit. For example, objective 1.2.4 is an objective that shows up in the general plan, but based upon what that objective said, we felt like it was speaking to that goal 1.2 from Vision 2030. So that's where you get those. In some instances, thank you. If you're scrolling, it helps, because then we can increase the text size. If you scroll down just a little bit, actually, you'll notice goal 1.4. There's a few instances like this where the goal is actually stated in both places, but it's stated a little bit differently. That's why you have some red text and some black, that's merging the two documents so that the goals state the same exact thing. So the red text there, empowering neighborhoods by giving, shows up in the general plan, but not in 2030, but they were both stating the same goal, if that's clear enough.
Objective 1, 2, 4 is complete, completely critical, because according to that visioning conference that John Curtis had back in 2013, it pushed for, and this document also pushed for an evil idea next to Utah Lake, which would violate people's property rights by creating a delta.
Okay, thanks for the input. So our goal, again, tonight is to take a look at this. This is a policy document that gives some direction or some ideas of where we can go. And the idea is to refine this and make sure that this is really where we want to go. And then I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I believe it's our council members' intent to follow this as the policy, and to use this in helping to guide some of their decisions. They have some pretty difficult decisions to make oftentimes, and this helps to make sure that we understand what the stated visions and policies of the city are. So the first of these sections, family and neighborhoods, is where we're at. We'll just go ahead and we'll go through each goal. This is the part that gets kind of dry. If you guys have something you want to comment or add, or language that you feel is maybe not quite clear enough, then let's have those discussions and see if we can't come up to a consensus on how this document reads. Sound like a plan? All right. So goal 1.1, improve neighborhood interconnectivity. Goal 1.2, capitalize. I'm just going to go through the goals. You're welcome to read the objectives. I guess before we get going too heavily, I will also mention I've got some business cards at the back with my contact information on it. This is not an end-all be-all meeting that if you don't say something now, you'll never be heard of again. This is basically to introduce you to the process that we're going through. I would encourage you, even if you've read the document, to go back. It's vision2030.provo.org. Pretty easy to remember. But if you can't remember that, feel free to send me an email. Like I said, my contact information's there, and I can send you the link. Yeah, if you just go to the typical provo.org and search for Vision 2030, you'll find it as well. So this is definitely available online, and we'd encourage you to really dive into that, probably a little deeper than we're going to get in the hour and a half that we have tonight. Okay, so goal 1.2, capitalize on local natural resources and neighborhood amenities. Goal 1.3, help neighborhoods establish their own identity and sense of place. Yes, sir.
We look for feedback as we go through right now, or we
You're welcome for feedback now. This is an open discussion. Like I said, this is not intended to for me to simply be dictating anything to you. The only reason I'm reading through these is to help kind of move this discussion along, but it's absolutely.
on this first go, I'm curious if this would be an appropriate place to go like load share, but what is that? Is this a place for something in there for that? 1.2, we talked a little bit about green space or open space.
So I guess to address your first question about the specifics, it is a little bit high level, so we don't drill down into very exact steps. But you do have, so the sections that we're going to go over today are section 1, 2, 3, and 9. Section 9 is transportation and mobility. So this is the family and neighborhood section. It talks about interconnectivity. You'll find that some of these sections say very similar things, but most of the meat for what you're mentioning is in the transportation and mobility. And there is actually some specific information about mode share and things like that in that section. Not that I would expect you yeah, it's for when you're tired at night. So the gentleman back in the red, you've had your hand up for a while. So
So it sounds like I didn't
yeah.
extrapolate any of that from the document, so I don't know if you read something different, but.
So this is not a regulatory document. This is a high-level policy guiding document. So it could have influence on the questions like that come up farther down the road, but this is more about deciding what road we're going to even be on before we reach those. But this is not about what color you can paint your house.
So, on the city council, we're going to be referring to this document when making our decision. I've seen many developers, they actually want to be given an idea of what is the city looking for. If they can come in and maybe something right now is should or shouldn't, and then it kind of goes back to when we're hearing but that conversation we had earlier about balancing principles. And so then the council will say, okay, all of these principles are this weird. Where's the best balance? How do we best implement this the vision as stated in this adopted document?
What you're saying is that once this is adopted, it can, those people, those individual influences that come to the council can cherry pick from this what they want to use to support their particular development or their particular argument.
And hopefully the council is familiar with it and try to, again, judge based on that. But it is a way, it is kind of a document that says, as a council, we've adopted this, and as a community, we've developed this vision. And so it gives a place to judge these proposals and rep our efforts.
And how are you going to use this document as far as zoning is concerned?
Does that explain?
Are you going to try to match the zoning with this document? Are you going to update the zoning?
So the general plan is I'm taking too much time, I'm sorry. To me, the general plan is a step between this vision document and then our zoning. So even the general plan is an advisory document, and this is even a higher level one. And then
This is going to be a higher level
And it-
policy document than
Right.
the general plan.
the general plan. So this
So
will help
what's
inform the general
purpose of
plan.
the general plan then?
This helps inform the general plan. And the general plan, like we just did with the Franklin neighborhood, created a plan that didn't directly affect zoning, but states that this is where we intend to go with zoning. So, and then this would be a higher level to help form those neighborhood plans.
So to speak to that a little bit, I guess if I can, that's part of the reason why, in a second. Part of the reason why I mentioned that we're trying to actually merge those is so that there's not multiple plans that could possibly contradict each other or something,
So
so.
you're going to have to, council meeting, then you're going to have this vision 2030, then you're going to have the general plan, and then you're going to have zoning.
So we currently have, so again, what you're looking at here, everything that's in black text, that's the existing document. Yeah.
All kinds of comments on my particular comment. But I mean, recent, you got to discuss these points, those are the 1.1. You got to be able to make comments,
Yeah, that's the exact purpose of tonight,
okay?
is to discuss those. So, yes, ma'am.
Agriculture is very important.
This is starting that discussion and process. Yeah, we've had a number of neighborhood meetings already where we've had this similar discussion. But the whole intent of this is to get that discussion started. You have my contact information. We're looking for you to actually send comments and things like that in. You can give the comments tonight, but we don't want you to feel like tonight is your only opportunity to ever say anything on it and you'll never be heard. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to also make the comment that there's a lot more happening behind the scenes on every one of these points. You know, further clarify and execute these overall ideas, specifically about agriculture. The city's received a large chunk of money to support and sustain urban and commercial agriculture. And they've now formed a committee that's going to help decide how that financing is used. Their first meeting is tonight. We have some really great ideas and opportunities we're excited about. So there are programs and committees that have been set up to help execute some of these overall ideas. Yeah, I think that's why this is just such a broad statement overall, because this committee actually just was formed last week. So all of it's happening and trickling until 2030, I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly right. With the fact that this document is so high level, it's hard sometimes
Argue the minutia
To-
of where rock goes.
Yeah.
And to clarify some actual facts, since since the original plan, when John Kerr's machine came into power, in 2010, majority of the councils, with the exceptions of the current one, for the most part, has passed everything that this document has done, said and done. Not only that, but there is enforcement, through the, Gestapo, you might say, of the Community Redevelopment Agency, penalizing this average of 5,000 plus, citizens per year. And a lot of these people per year, the violations aren't found in city code. It's found off these vision documents. So how about we just adopt a policy of abolishing 5 laws or 5 code with every one that we adopt?
Yes, sir.
It was pretty important.
To be honest with you, I actually wasn't involved in the original process. I wasn't working for the city at that time, so I don't know. I don't know if anyone here, Dave, were you part of that, or?
No, I wasn't. Dave, right?
Yeah.
We're all here, but I remember that the mayor asked to be on a committee to apply for the plan, and so when you're asked to be on a committee,
Yeah, we, attendance at meetings is always one of the biggest struggles that any iterative process like this faces.
Alluded to a few times. But, where you have help neighborhoods establish their own identity and sense of place, I think there's something that shouldn't be added in that, just to help individuals establish their own sense of identity.
So you're referring to goal 1.3.
Yes. We have up here, and it's alluded to in some of these things that they have up here, where we help. It says to help neighborhoods establish their own identity and sense of place. I think that it would be important to also add individuals to be able to have their own sense of identity and place by preserving and strengthening property rights, individual choice.
I would support the government helping a collective, street or neighborhood beautification or something, but I believe the individual should be more of an individual project, not a government project.
Elected is a majority rural socialism idea, while John gets it right when it comes to property rights as an individual right, which is the whole basis of all of our rights. You can't have our rights without property rights. Once property rights are eliminated, which they are, then no other rights apply. John Adams stated this, as well as James Madison. They follow the Constitution. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land, Article 6, Section 2. Not this agenda, UN agenda, socialism, which is of the devil.
Talking about a group of neighbors getting together
To decide what.
making decisions concerning their neighborhood. And it doesn't have to do necessarily with
That is ultimately what will happen. So they take this document and they're going to have this, they're going to use it for other plans and eventually zoning laws, specific zoning laws that will come from this plan.
It's not only going to happen, but it's been happening. It's been happening since John Kerr's machine had gone into office and Billings machine and before that.
the point is, we're not here to criticize people, we're here to talk about this document.
Which
We
is
can
also
proceed, appreciate hearing it. However, I would like to go through this because that is why we're here. And if we could do so and give this gentleman some time to direct us and move us through it, and we can make our comments rather than criticizing, we can make some progress. Just my thought.
So that was goal 1.2. We are making progress. Shall we move to 1.3? So goal 1.3, help neighborhoods, oh, I guess that was the one that we were on, wasn't it? Thank you. Goal 1.4, empower neighborhoods by giving families, individuals, and businesses opportunities to participate in the neighborhoods.
You have balance there. It seems that this whole thing is about balance. You mentioned families, you mentioned neighborhoods. We all live together, we live as families, we live. And we talk about what the issues are, and it's all a matter of balance, which is why we're going through this, balance. At least that's why.
Yeah, to try and help understand where that is without getting into how much this weighs and how much that weighs, right? Okay, moving on. Goal 1.5, encourage owner occupancy or long-term residency by creating healthy and balanced neighborhoods for schools, businesses, religious congregations, and community organizations. Goal 1.6, maintain and improve the physical appearance and beauty of neighborhoods. And as we're going through this, if you notice an objective that you want to talk about specifically, we can. Just for the sake of time, I'm not going to read the whole document to you. I would like you guys to stay awake. I did, we just mentioned it. Sir. Well, yes, for a visioning document, yes, because this isn't regulatory. This is not, that's not drilling down into the weeds from a high level. Yeah. Yes. Yes, it is policy.
So when we were discussing and developing the Franklin Neighborhood Plan, there was a question.
They told us to use the mic.
Oh, that's good. So when we were developing the Franklin Neighborhood Plan, there was some question on what zoning we would like to see in certain sections of that. And we turned to the general plan and Vision 2030 to try to determine what is the best zoning for that area in the future.
I'd like to see, under goal 1.5, one of those objectives be diversity of housing as well. Because right now we are looking at a movement, the tiny house movement, maybe not the one with wheels on it, but something that's a little bit smaller. And I believe there's a movement and there's room for smaller housing, but yet our current zoning doesn't make room for that. I'd like to see.
I don't know why the government should be biased towards single-family homes. I happen to be in Joaquin, and we're the most urbanized neighborhood. We're not building, well, we're hardly building any single-family homes. And things change. So I'm not sure why we want a 30-year bias towards single-family homes when
large parts of the city going the opposite direction.
Excellent feedback. Thank you. So, Mrs. Allen, goal 1.5, did you have a comment on that? You specifically mentioned it. Okay. Mr. Sewell. It is not, because this is our working document. Yeah, this is basically what we're working from with these meetings and things like that. I would imagine since this is probably our last neighborhood meeting at this point, we're certainly willing to make it available to anybody, but it's not posted online. Yes, so, yeah. So everything that's in black text is available online because that's the current document. Oh, you do?
Yes, it has been out.
I got it because somebody found it and then he emailed it to me.
Okay.
I don't know how you find it. I just know I got it.
All right.
I haven't found anything differences between what I.
So is that from a web page or is that an email attachment that was sent to you? Yeah, I'm certainly willing to email it to anybody that wants it. The direct question was whether it was available online, which maybe it is, but I'll tell you what, if you email me, it's going to be easier than probably finding it on our website.
I suspect it's probably the Word document. Yeah. Can't edit it with show document.
Sure. In any event, we're willing to make it available. It's certainly nothing secretive. When we feel like we've received enough input, not enough input, but when a lot of times in the public process, you'll notice a drastic decline in the amount of feedback that you're getting. It's a pretty good indicator. Don't know right now. However long it takes to get it right. That's what we're hoping for. So goal 1.6, I think we had just talked about. If we could scroll down then. I think you're probably trying to find it online, aren't you? 1.7. Ensure neighborhoods are well informed and educated on city-related issues. Educate residents about local, state, and federal laws. So that goal and all the associated objectives are straight from the general plan. That's why it's all in red. All right, section 2.1, land use and growth. As I mentioned before, a lot of times you find similar things. Protect existing owner-occupied housing in neighborhoods and encourage an increased percentage of owner-occupied or long-term residency housing in Provo neighborhoods. Goal 2.2, identify opportunities for neighborhood amenities in established neighborhoods. Well, so again, these are not actually regulatory. Any current projects that you see built or anything in that direction follow the current existing codes and or the Provo Municipal Code. That's the actual regulatory document. So these are visioning steps of where we want to be, maybe not necessarily where we're at. referring to objective 2.1.6? So help me understand, I guess, specifically what conflicts with that as opposed to what you're. So again, that might be getting a little specific as to what landscaping is, the document, but
Maybe it's what we want it to be. I don't know about other people, but I think, I don't like living in. When I walk down the street, I like to have a little bit of shade. I think trees are very important to have a little. I don't have any objection to it.
Yeah, I don't think it's specific to green things.
so I'm trying to wrap my head around what the comment specifically is or the idea.
Far more specific than this document's meant to go. I think that's
So if I had to reiterate what you're saying, what I'm hearing is you're afraid that the term require landscaping is too broad for a visioning document. So we're talking definitions of what landscaping might be. So, okay.
We're also talking about walkability of a neighborhood. How can you have a neighborhood if nobody walks around?
Certainly.
These go together.
Sure.
Without, seems to me, you're saying you don't care if people walk or not, you don't care if they ride bicycles or not, we're gonna put roads down and rocks and we don't use much water.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah.
how we're going to execute it. So, capture.
Yeah, so let's keep going through these because I think you'll actually see some goals that speak to what you're talking about as we do that. So, and if you don't, and you don't speak up now, I'm not going to let you comment. I'm just kidding.
We'll hear from you anyway.
Yeah, as we go through this, let's see if that might be resolved through what exists, and if not, send me an email. Okay, goal 2.2, identify opportunities for neighborhood amenities in established neighborhoods. Goal 2.3, disperse the increasing demand for rental housing throughout the county. Goal 2.4, disperse a broad range of affordable housing throughout the city. Goal 2.5, is that a hand? So I can speak a little bit to goal 2.3. Provo City, so this is actually dispersing it throughout the county. So that's a goal of what we're looking to do. Provo City has a disproportionate amount of rental housing when compared to other cities in the same county, in Utah County. We certainly have an educational aspect that increases that, but even aside from that, it's a little bit disproportionate. So that's generally what the goal is speaking towards, is just trying to make sure that we take opportunities when they come up to try to disperse that throughout the county so that everybody takes their fair share. Mr. Knight? It's a good question. Do we want to do something about it or not? That's what we're discussing, right? Yes, sir.
I'm just gonna say, I think that can tie back to the previous couple of points of encouraging owner-occupied residencies. Because I mean, it's the more we incentivize owner occupancy, less available rental space. Yeah, help people become owners rather than renters. I think it's a great solution.
Some neighborhoods, it would be very lovely to not have it.
But again, so that's something like an action step that could result from a stated goal, right? Does that help clarify maybe where this plays in?
Sounds like we all love 3.3.
Yeah.
Oh, do desert right now. I thought you were saying would it, what would it look like right now? I don't know. I would like to see that list.
All of their recommendations for
I'd love to see like want to send out a friendly reminder. We are coming up with goals for the city. We're not brainstorming solutions. We're not problems. We're mostly just saying, what do we want to see? 2.3 is a thumbs up. Let's move.
Sounds like we like 2.3 and 2.4. So 2.5, prioritize areas within the city for economic development. 2.6, facilitate environmentally sensitive industrial land use and development to contribute to employment opportunities and the city's tax base without negatively impacting quality of life. 2.7, promote safety through urban design. So as a landscape architect, I can tell you there are many things that can be done. This is just to break up the conversation a little bit. You guys look like you're not enjoying this very much. So that was a good discussion. So there are many opportunities through the way that you design a city that you can really impact walkability, safety, and safety and walkability oftentimes are actually very closely related. But anyway, I believe that's probably a consensus that goal is appropriate still as well. It's a fun one to talk about. Goal 2.8, make quality housing and services that are accessible to all segments of the population. It's easier when they are spread out to create it, right? Yes, sir. Sure.
Very quality design centers where desirable design, who's against desirable design? The catch is to decide what's desirable.
Right. So those then, that's the more drilled down documents that come later on, right?
This is nearly useless. I mean, nobody's gonna, I mean, any design can be called desirable by somebody. The developer may call it desirable, neighborhood may call it desirable, staff may call it desirable. I would suggest you take out desirable and put in some other description of what we're trying to accomplish. What kind of a design theme are we trying to accomplish besides desirable?
Or you can just omit it completely because all the rest are more specific in that section.
But just, as you look at these, even though it's high level, it still has to be somehow meaningful, and it excludes something. You don't want, right? Desirable design themes is so general as it doesn't exclude any design.
your elected officials will determine what's desirable on behalf of the people, and if the people don't like that, they elect you.
was the big yellow spaces filling that are desirable according to the Ormston Council and the contractor that benefit from the public money?
Wasn't in order at that time.
Just saying, I'm just arguing to what you said.
I think
So-
that the answer is in other places in this document. They're soliciting neighborhood input, and they're doing all kinds, there are other places in this document which help define kind of what desirable we think is. Be careful that we don't make these so general.
Sure. So just to try and pin down the comment maybe to something that we can then take and try to get into this. And so I'm going to try to reiterate this, and if I'm off base, you correct me. What I'm hearing is we have maybe two options here. The first is removing 2.9.1 altogether because we feel like it's already covered through other parts. Or option two would be to reword 2.9.1 to eliminate desirable and add maybe something directive to a neighborhood or the council or something like that. Is that in essence what I'm hearing? I didn't have the mic to you, so this is actually also my way of recording what kind of comments we're getting tonight. Mr. Connect.
So, the goal 2.9 and then the objective 2.91, very, very similar because they talk about themes. Doesn't give a definition, and it assumes that everyone here, that the audience would know what a design theme is. On that, great.
Sir.
It'd be fine if you just, if you find desirable as either brown stucco or orange brick. Pretty much cover the road.
Or you might be able to use the words where architecturally compatible designs within the neighborhood or within the surrounding. But maybe the word architecturally, has some of the doldrums that we.
I also like the comment about it being neighborhood specific, because I think that's a big concern with all of us here, are, you know, we don't want this to say you should all have grass, because it should be neighborhood specific. So,
Yeah. And I think, you know.
So maybe if this were reworded, the rewording I'm hearing is having the cues, the design cues that you're looking at be specific to the neighborhood.
that sounds great.
Was it? Sure. Great comments, thank you. We ready to move on?
Can I cut in just for a moment?
You've got 30 seconds.
I was texted the link to this draft document. I was not able to find how to get there from provo.org's homepage, so I have placed it in a Facebook group called Provo Central District, as well as on the blog, which is provodistrict5.blogspot.com. It's now the most recent post. So that's the link right there if you want to try to write it down real quick, but it's provo.org.
Can you make it a little bigger?
Yes.
I think we have a sign-in sheet, don't we? Back on the table. If you want to just put your name and address on there, we'll send the link out to everybody here so that we can keep moving on.
Okay.
We're running slim on time. All right, section 3. Thank you. Let's jump to section 9, and then if we have time, we'll come back to 3. Does anybody in here hate parks? Do they not like children playing on a playground next to them?
I know some people that do, people who live by the parks and complain regularly, but.
Do we not like bocce ball? Or, okay. All right, so we'll come back to this if we have time.
I just like the waste of taxpayer funds in order to get a route tax, which was planned since John Curtis's election in 2009.
Well, actually, it was started about 10 years before.
Yeah. Still a taxi tax, it's the waste and spend people's money.
So in order to get through this document then, we will move on to section 9. So this is transportation and mobility. And I would tell you that, so there's been a number of people that have gone through this already and made some suggestions. We've gotten most of our feedback on 2 sections. The first is land use and growth. The second is transportation and mobility. So if you want to know your hot topics in the city, that's what we've been seeing. So there's some key things that can really help promote the lifestyle, the characteristics, and things that you like to see in Provo. So 9.1, promote connectivity for all modes of transportation to key locations throughout the city. I think this is probably going to be more of where you were headed with your comment. As you can see, the objectives start to drill down even a little bit more on that one too. Goal 9.2, augment and ensure proper maintenance of the current and future transportation opportunities in Provo. Yes, ma'am.
Objective 9.1.9, control access onto arterial. I just wonder what that means.
So let's talk about it after. So I would be happy to explain that to you after. It's just, I don't want to drag this part on.
Plainly enough,
Good point. Yes, sir. Okay. So 9.2, I had just read. Anybody with questions on 9.2? 9.3, encourage utilization of current street standards and design tools to promote complete street design in appropriate areas of the city. Your elected representatives, your neighborhood meetings, your neighborhood plans, everything that follows after this document starts to define things.
I think our current street standards need to be changed dramatically. Let's look back 30 years, very wide streets and encourage fast traffic. Arterial streets and unarterial streets, much safer and much more pleasant. That's the only place we have.
Yes, sir.
Comment is that even on those streets that are collecting vehicles, still want pedestrians, still want bicyclists to feel safe. Want to feel safe, actually be safe.
Okay. So I'm just re-saying this again just to get it into the microphone. So what you're saying is that goal 9.3 should consider removing the word appropriate and replacing it with all areas of the city. And then, Mr. Graff, what I hear from you is that utilization of current street standards should be reworded, that potentially we want to encourage a change in our street standards.
That's almost, based on everything that I know, everything I've learned over the last 5 years about happenings on. Oh, no, not that. Like a nightmare. Like saying you're gonna lock me up in the 1950s.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I have a question. I hope it's not too distracting from
Yep.
the subjective, but I know that there are already some plans to execute this, but I didn't know how, if they were happening. I heard of a bike lane that's going north to campus from 3rd South, 200 East, is that correct? Is that going to happen? Okay. And then the other ones are,
$500,000 was budgeted this past budget cycle.
Great. So there's an example of one of these things being executed. And then on 3rd South, they're putting in those lights that are exclusively for pedestrian crossings, not for car crossings.
Correct.
Bulldog Boulevard is another example of implementing current street standards. I think the people who wrote this saw that the current street standards is how most of the streets were built in Provo. I think where that came from. But I agree, we need to make sure that we're staying on top of our current street standards, our street standards, to make sure they're as good as they can be.
I'm curious then, is there a document where these standards are spelled out? Which document is that?
Yeah, so that starts to get into more of the regulation, but underneath this document, when we're talking transportation specifically, the city does have a transportation master plan that starts to kind of refine maybe what this is saying, or refine the approach that the city's going to take, and then from that it moves on to codes, the actual ordinance.
And I think that's maybe where I'm seeing Bill's side, is that current code does allow for pretty wide streets in small residential areas. We don't like that standard that much. Narrower street there, that's more.
Sure.
Reason not to change.
Sure. I absolutely understand the comment.
Your plan, we're not gonna change. Oh, no.
Athens, so you're saying there's another document?
Right. This is identifying the objective we want to do so that we start down a road to do that. And then it would be actual regulatory documents to get us there. Yes, sir.
Right around programs, cameras, or places in town where you go, you just pull your hair out like, who is time in your life?
And in fact, Dave stated.
Brian Torgerson. Did I say that?
Without giving Dave Billings credit, the best timing for the lights I've seen while living in Provo has been the last few years while Billings was in office.
Goal 9.4, promote easier navigation. Oh, sorry.
I think that 9.313 and 9.315 are actually saying the same thing, that they reversed the fatality and injury words.
Oh, that's funny.
They're both the same sentence.
Thank you. Yes. So 9.313 and 9.315 are the exact same and need to be merged. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yep. Looks like we've got some redundancy there. Yeah, let's get through this section. I bet you're going to find it. Yep. 9.5, enhance Provo City downtown as a destination. Oh, is that the last? Go back up. Go to, did we skip 9.4? Promote, oh, right there. Promote easier navigation with appropriate signage and education throughout the city. So the objectives there, targeting key points of interest, continuing to implement wayfinding signage, inform the public of the benefits of public transportation, and continue the removal of billboards. So let's state your comment again and see if we can't. I'm going to hand you a mic, and I will double check. It sounds very familiar to something I've read, but I will double check. So let me know
Okay.
your comment.
My comment is that over, especially by the hospital and down by 7-Eleven by what, Third South, it's really bad. The pedestrians and the bicyclists always seem to just kind of cut you off and just kind of run through traffic. And it's, you try to be safe, but when you've got people, especially crossing such big roads, we need either some education or something, maybe like a walkway over to the hospital from those doctor offices or something to keep everybody safe.
So I hear two things from that then. One being the city actually taking initiative in increasing the safety of certain roads or crossings per se. The other is more an educational component of helping people understand multimodal transportation or aspects there. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Very little money, you can do it.
Right. Absolutely, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Right down the middle, running north and south, window, and it was facilitated close. It did, is it made assumptions who they were saying. And the driver assumed would watch out for them. And as a result, there were several very severe accidents where pedestrians, thinking they were safe, would walk out into traffic. Drivers going, oh, where did you come from? And it's just an assumption of common sense.
So we have, it looks like 3¼ minutes left. I don't know if that's entertainment or if you slept through it. So that's the end of the transportation section. We did skip the recreation section, which is one that we have covered with the other neighborhoods. But again, this is not the end all be all. This is us trying to get this discussion rolling. If we don't hear from you for a month, we're going to assume that you have nothing to tell us. So
This is the final, after the final.
well, so this doesn't include necessarily any comments from other neighborhood meetings or things. That's what we're going to start assembling now from this point forward. It'll certainly show up at Planning Commission and in front of the council. We can, if you would like to. Schedule a neighborhood meeting and we'd be happy to come and present it. Once we get things assembled, it sounds like, right? You're wanting to hear of everything that's put together. Sure.
A little more than this.
Sure. Yeah, schedule a meeting and invite us. We'd be happy to show up and talk about anything you want to talk about. No? Just send me an email.
When we've gone through section 3, other meeting, one of the things that stood out to me is how many of these goals you actually, there's objectives, how many objectives had been completed by the city over the last 6 years. And that was
All right, would you guys like an early out day? Thank you. We appreciate you attending. Again, my cards are at the back. Give me phone calls, give me emails. I'm happy to answer anything or discuss anything more in depth. But we appreciate you coming and showing up and participating in the process.
So you said this is the iterative process,